The book of Psalms, chapter 50, verse 21. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Though thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. All right, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rahakwadash. Double honors the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shabbat Shalom to the hopeful elect. So today, in this parking talk, I just want to go into how real leaders raise leaders. And this is really inspired by, this past Saturday at camp, we had an issue where, the elder had to take care of something, and camp went on, as usual. And this is only possible because the elders raised men who became elders, and the elders are raising men who are also being fashioned and built up to be leaders. All right, this is not a ministry where there's one person who has it all and he's surrounded by a bunch of yes men, or that there's one like charismatic speaker and everyone else just does nothing. They just stand like this. You have camps where there's just one speaker in the whole camp. One person knows the scriptures, and then you have a bunch of zombies. But through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, he raised up elders who raised men to teach other men to teach other men. And it's at a point right now where, this ministry, the actual ministry of Yahweh Shai, is a well-oiled machine. It's to the point now where, different elders can go off and do different things. A brother in the middle of speaking, brother might just walk off and do a lesson with another brother, and things keep going because we all have the mind of Yahweh Shai, as it tells you in Corinthians. So, I just wanted to go into some scriptures and show you that the actual body of Yahweh Shai is not, it's not a cult of personality. It's not a situation where there's just one person that's just highly exalted, and then a bunch of other yes men, blind followers, and really just seats. All right, head counts. Because a lot of these camps, they make merchandise of our people, as it tells you in Peter. They're just looking to have a large congregation. It doesn't matter who knows the scriptures, who doesn't know the scriptures. It's all about having as many people as possible. That way you can make money off of the Passover. You can make money off of this event. You can make money off of, okay, this person has a business. All right, this person's selling oil. This person's selling this and that. If we have as many warm bodies as possible, there's more money to go around. This ministry is not about us making money off of the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It's about leaders raising up leaders. Now I want to get this in Timothy before I continue. This is 2 Timothy chapter 2, and starting at the top, it says, "Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also." So you have Apostle Paul giving an admonition that, look, these things that I'm teaching you, teach these to other men that are able to teach as well. All right. One of the descriptions of a man of the Lord is to be apt to teach. Apt goes into a willingness, a readiness. You have to be ready to teach this word. Now, if you're teaching the word to people that they're not trying to get it, they just, oh, we're going to have spiritual power. Oh, Isaiah 4:1, 7 women shall take hold of women. You have a lot of Israelites that are just Isaiah 4:1 jakes, man. They don't care about the scriptures. They don't care about the breakdowns. They don't care about the conduct, how a man of the Lord is supposed to conduct himself in these last days, the anastrophe of a prophet. Their only concern is chicken and women. And, we're admonished to not even deal with those people like that. You tell them they're Israelites, you tell them to repent, keep the commandments, but you don't break bread with people that ultimately have no desire to be a leader. All right, real leaders raise other leaders, and then those leaders go on to raise other men. Those men grow, and then they become leaders. That's how this ministry works. It's Jake has that saying in the world: each one teach one. All right, we're supposed to be teachers of men that are also going to teach other men. And it's a beautiful thing to watch, on myself. This is I'm closing on my 7th year. I'm approaching my 8th year in this ministry, and I've seen a lot of men come and go. And the beautiful part is I've seen a lot of young men grow up in this faith. And you see a man who comes across the truth. He doesn't have any knowledge or wisdom and understanding. You pour that water, as Apostle Paul said, I've watered, I've planted, let me get that real quick. I don't want to butcher it. This is But yeah, I was saying the beautiful thing about it is watching men that you taught go on to become teachers. You know, you sat down with this man, you broke bread with him, you show him this precept, that precept, and you know, he's not a robot, he's not a zombie, he's a lively stone, and he gets the truth, and he's now able to teach other men that are coming in. It's a beautiful thing to behold. But this is Apostle Paul speaking here. He says, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, and I'm going to start at 5. It says, who then is Paul, and who is Apollos, but ministers by whom ye believed, even as the Lord gave to every man? I have planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High gave the increase. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but the Most High that give the increase. So again, this isn't about us exalting ourselves, or you know, this guy's this top knowledgeable teacher, or this guy's the most charismatic speaker, and then we all give praises to this nigga, man. No, this is all about giving praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, all right, the Most High, Bahashem, in the name Yahweh Shai, all right. Now, Yahweh Shai raised up prophets, teachers, elders, and we each teach each other. All right, going to Ephesians, the 4th chapter, we edify each other. The word edify means to build up. So the body of Yahweh Shai is men building up other men in love, all right. Real teachers raise up other teachers. Real prophets teach other prophets. All right. This idea in the world where you have a cult leader, for lack of a better term, a cult of personality, someone who's, you know, just has a quirky personality, a certain gimmick, a garment, you know, special effects, and then you build a whole ministry around this one person's personality. Well, what happens when that person isn't available? What happens if they get sick? If they get sent to the spirit world? If they get locked up? If anything happens to that one person, the whole organization falls. And that's exactly what happened to, let's go down the list. The Nation of Islam, all right? You have a whole body of men centered around Malcolm X, his personality, his ability to be a great orator. He had an incredible mind. He was really good at articulating himself, and he carried himself a certain way. And so the Nation of Islam exploded in popularity. And then he got so big to where he was outshining, you know, the honorable Elijah Muhammad or whatever. All right. He got too big for his britches, and he was murdered. All right. Then what happened? The Nation of Islam just took a huge, which the Lord's not dealing with the Nation of Islam. All right. Never has been, never will be. But it shows you, when you have a whole movement centered around how well one person speaks, or how much you like this person, all right, based on their persona, when that person gets taken out of the way, why weren't there 1,000 other men to spring up with the exact same message? Because it wasn't about the message, it was about the messenger. All right, this truth is about the message and the messenger. The messenger, which in the Hebrew, Mala'ak, which means angel, all right, the angel of the Lord is Yahweh Shai. He's the messenger. But what is the message? The message is also the word, which is Yahweh Shai. So the messenger and the message are one and the same. That's why Yahweh Shai raised up a bunch of men that are all speaking the same thing, because it's not about this person's personality or what their particular spin on it. It's not about the spin. It's about the actual doctrine, which is Yahweh Shai. So let me get back to this. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 25. It says, and I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away all dross. Salakia, let me read that again. This is Isaiah 1 and 25. And I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away thy dross and take away all thy tin. And dross and tin goes into the impurities that are found on metals. All right. And Malachi tells you that the Most High likens his ministry unto him making up his jewels. And in Ezekiel, it tells you that the 2/3 are dross. Dross is that scum, the film around the metal. It's an impurity. The Lord is getting away. He's doing away with the impurities of our people. And it says this, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed with judgment, and her converts with righteousness. Right? The convert is someone that returns back into the truth. And it says, I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Now, when you go into Genesis, all right, It tells you that Adam, all right, he was hiding from the prophets. All right. It tells you in Luke, the first chapter, the 70th verse, that the prophets have been here from the beginning. The prophets have always been here. The true leaders, the true teachers have been here from the beginning. And right now, this ministry is a process of those same ministers, those same prophets being raised up in these last days. The Lord's dealing with leaders, and he's dealing with men that are raising other men to be leaders. He's not dealing with yes men. He's not dealing with mindless zombies. He's not dealing with warm seats. Just a bunch of jakes just sitting there. You know, you ask them, well, you got a precept? Jake just bugged out of their mind, man. All right, where's your head, Jake? All right, if you're someone that watches videos, if you come to a camp, if you cross over and join a camp, and your mind is just somewhere in La La Land, the Lord's gonna spew you out. The Lord's not dealing with people that are just here to be here, man. The Lord's not dealing with men that are just, you know, I'm okay with just being an Israelite, a regular Israelite. Why are you in the ministry of men, of leaders, teaching other men to be leaders, but you're happy to be a loser? All right, we're here to win, man. The victory is having a victory over the beast, not taking the mark, all right, following Yahweh Shai until his second coming, in which we're going to be raised up and made like unto him. We're not here just to be for no reason, man. There's a purpose, and there should be a fire and a passion for you to get on a chariot and see your brother on the chariot as well. All right, we're here to raise up other leaders. All right, just the same way the Lord raised up elders who raised up us, we're here to raise up other men to be in that same stead. All right, we should have a ministry that's so, you know, one thing about a business, right? The difference between, you know, having a hustle, a side hustle, and an actual business. A business does not need the business owner there. All right, the CEO of McDonald's does not need to get behind the register. He doesn't need to get on fries. All right. All right. Any well-oiled machine, any business does not require the founder of the business, the CEO of the business. The business is set up so well that everything just runs off a process. That's how this truth is. All right. If the elders, you know, Lord forbid, if something happens to them, it's not as if Great Millstone is just going to disappear because, oh, the top teacher isn't here, so we're just going to vanish. No, we have a ministry to where if anything happens to a man that's higher in rank, the man that was being raised by him can step in his stead. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's how you know it's about the actual truth. It's about the actual doctrine. It's not about, I like this person's personality, or I like this guy's garment, or I like the way this person edits their videos. They have the special effects with the after, you know, the explosions and all of this. No, it's about the actual message. And the message, the word endures forever. So if your ministry is centered around the actual word, that means the things that you're saying, the truth ultimately is going to exist, whether or not one particular person is there or not. You have elders that are falling out of the truth. All right, the elder in Baton Rouge, the elder in Atlanta. You've had whole camps that just went off. Jake talking about the flat earth and all kind of madness. But guess what? This truth is centered around the actual ministry. So even if the head of a camp gets bugged out or just becomes wicked, the Lord will get rid of him, man. That doesn't mean the truth goes away. That doesn't mean we all start from scratch. No, we're all being raised to be leaders. Every leader, every real leader wants to raise other leaders. When you have somebody that's trying to be a gatekeeper, that's trying to hoard precepts to themselves, that's trying to I want to make sure all my underlings, my subordinates, they have to come to me to get this breakdown. They have to come to me to understand this. They have to that's wicked, man. All right. Weak leaders want other men under them to be even weaker than them, so that keeps them in power. That keeps them in a position of authority. That keeps them important. All right. If you need me to get this breakdown, then I'm special. I'm somebody. When you didn't come up with the breakdown, all right? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai gave us this truth freely. And you hoarding precepts, we've seen this, man. And these individuals are no longer among us, all right? The Lord's not dealing with men that want to be special, all right? The Lord's not dealing with men that want to basically bird feed other men, all right? The scripture says that we be of quick understanding in Isaiah. So if you, Salaki, you might hear AC. Don't want the phone to overheat. Yeah, so we're at a point where men are raising up other men, and the spirit is just overflowing, man. And the elder of this camp specifically, he says all the time, I want you brothers to know what I know. Now, why does he say that? Because first of all, it makes his job easier if he doesn't have to sit and spoon feed information to Jake. all right? But also it puts us in a position to where we can do other things that frees him up to do more, as Esau puts it, administrative tasks, all right? All right, if a leader, if the person who's at the top of an organization is bogged down with all this stuff down here, and there's no help, there's nobody in the middle understands how to do menial tasks, then really it's a waste of time, man. If you have to look over, what's that term they call, basically micromanage. If you have to stand over someone's shoulder the entire time they're doing what you tell them to do, then you might as well do it yourself. It doesn't serve any purpose for them to be there. But in this ministry, the Lord is raising up men who are prophets, all right, who are teachers, who teach other men, as we just read in Timothy. You teach other men that are able to teach other men also. All right, if you've been in the truth 5 years, you shouldn't have to call an elder for a basic breakdown. If you're teaching someone and they ask you a question, you should be able to answer it yourself. You shouldn't be, what does the word Gentile mean? No, you know what it means, because you were taught by men who were teaching you to be teachers. You weren't taught by someone that was spoon feeding you, bird feeding you, trying to keep you on a tight string so that they can control you. That's wickedness, man. And that's what Esau does. If you notice, Esau's school system is all about keeping you as dumb as possible so you can get another certificate, you can get another degree. After you get this degree, you got to get this degree. After you get this certificate, you got to get this certificate. All right. After you get certified to do this, you got to have an apprenticeship and then go get this degree to do. It's basically keeping you in a cycle to keep you in debt so that he maintains his facade of being somebody special, man. That's a sign of a weak man. That's a sign of a poor leader. All right. The sign of a good leader. Let me get this real quick, because it tells you in the scriptures. Yahushua said what? You'll know a tree by its fruits. This is This is Matthew chapter 7, and we're going to start at, I'll start at 15. It says, this is Matthew 7 and 15. It says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Right. It says, you'll know them by their fruits. So if you see a camp full of zombies, deadheads, bird brains, niggas that don't know the scriptures, niggas just standing around like this, you just 2 hours, does he know the scriptures? What is the purpose of you being a teacher if the people following you don't know the scriptures? But if you see a camp where, this brother, he can teach, he can lead, he can guide, he can speak, this brother can read, but he could also speak. All right, this brother here, he can go off, do lessons, he could, everybody can teach. What does that mean? That means the leaders of that organization, they were real. They were sincere. They were sincere about building other men. All right. Again, going back to Timothy, teaching. Let me read that again real quick. We'll get some more scriptures and get out of here. But this is 2 Timothy 2 and 2. It says, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. Now, Apostle Paul, he was on a high level. All right, he was brought up in the law, statutes, and commandments by Gamaliel, and then he was taught the gospel by Yahushua. So he was an expert in the law, but he was also an expert in the application, the spiritual application and understanding of the scriptures. So he was on a high level. Now, when you read his words, was he about exalting himself, talking about how great he was? No, he was all about building up the churches to be on the same level. All right, which, again, going back to Ephesians 4, the whole purpose of the ministry is for us to each be on a level. We're supposed to edify each other until the fullness of Yahushua, meaning whatever this brother lacks, I can provide that for him. What I lack in this area, this brother can provide that for me. We're all going to compensate for each other's strengths and weaknesses until we reach that full measure of Yahushua. And when he comes back, he said, shall I find faith on the earth? Among this world? No. Among the body? Absolutely. All right? Absolutely. All right, this is this is right on time. This is 2 Corinthians 3, and starting at the top. Do we begin again to commend ourselves, or need we, as some others, epistles of, let me read that again. This is 2 Corinthians 3, Salakia, starting at the top. Do we begin again to commend ourselves, or need we, as some others, epistles of commendation to you, or letters of commendation from you? Ye are our epistles written in our hearts, known and read of all men. Right? So we're living epistles. All right. Our bodies, which we make a living sacrifice, we represent the men that taught us. All right. The churches that were established, they represent the diligence of Apostle Paul, which Apostle Paul, he represents the teaching and knowledge and wisdom of Yahushua. So when you teach someone else something that was taught to you, and you raise him up to be a teacher like unto yourself, which gives glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, that person becomes a living epistle. You could look at that man and see, okay, oh, that brother's in GMS Nevada, that brother's in GMS Dallas, okay, all right, Elder Yashawama taught him such and such. Oh, that brother, he came up under so-and-so. And you look at these men and you say, okay, he's on a level. Who taught him? Oh, okay, that elder taught him. Okay, who taught him? Okay, the elders of Great Millstone. All right, it all goes back up the chain, and the chain ultimately goes to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It doesn't, you never clicked on a video and seen men, praising, all praises to, Apostle Tahar. We give double honors to the elders because that's what's due to them, because those are the chosen vessels of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. But the glory goes back to Yahweh in the name of Yahushai. That's what the whole ministry is about, not glorifying ourselves. It says, do we begin again to commend ourselves? No. Question mark, rhetorical question. No, we don't receive the truth so that we can commend ourselves, which is what a lot of Jakes do. They find out they're Israelites and they just lose their mind. They become even worse. Let me get that real quick, because poor teachers, again, if real teachers are raising up other teachers, real leaders are raising up other leaders, what are false prophets doing? What are wicked teachers doing? This is Matthew chapter 23, verse 13. It says, but woe unto you, and this is Yahushua getting on these niggas, man. Like you niggas, all right? It says, but woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. Right, because to whom much is given, much is received. It says, for pretense. A pretense is basically you putting on a show, making a gimmick, making mockery ultimately of the Lord to glorify yourself. It says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. So a lot of these wicked leaders, they're taking jakes that are coming out of the world, that are trying to get right with the Father, that are, sincere and seeking understanding and wisdom, and they make them even worse, man. You're a nigger, you're teaching a congregation of niggas, and then they end up worse than you. And we've seen that, man. We've seen, countless names. Nate, Alazar, Bun Lawyer, all right, the Peg Master. We see this now with Aisha PK. You got their top man who's now trying to be a podcast celebrity, going off on the doctrine, just doing all sorts of gimmicks and foolishness, man. And what does that do? It raises a bunch of people that look to you, all right, they associate you with leadership. Okay, this is an Israelite leader, and he's a gang member. All right, this is a Hebrew Israelite leader, and he's a podcaster. So now your congregation thinks, okay, this ministry is about having the best podcast. This ministry is about debating heathen, going on heathen platforms and making a fool of yourself. Okay, this ministry is about coming up with a logo and different merchandise and garments and oil and business, circulating the black dollar. What you do as a leader, people who are coming out of the world, they look at you and think this is what the ministry is about. So if you're all about, going on Hotep platforms, debating with the black conscious community, trying to be a rapper, trying to do this and that, the people that are following you, they're going to think that that's what the ministry is about. And when you come across Great Millstone, you see the ministry is about teaching the word. The ministry is about glorifying Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. The ministry is about chanting down Babylon and getting the hell up out of here, man. We're not trying to build something here that we could look to and say, well, look, 10 years from now, we're going to have a soup kitchen. We're going to be able to feed homeless niggas. All right, we're going to have a debate. 2 years from now, we're going to bring our whole library and debate this scholar. That's not what this ministry is about. When you come across the actual prophets, you realize, okay, wait a minute, I need to learn the word and go teach the word. I need to be able to know what this brother knows, so I can have that for myself, so I can teach another man. If another Israelite asks me, to break down what's going on in Revelation, what is the mark of the beast? What is that word mark in the Greek? I need to know that for myself. I can't just, okay, I watched the video. Now, if somebody asks me about the mark of the beast, go watch GMS Dallas in class 3. No, I need to know for myself first and foremost, and also I need to be able to teach this, because there's going to come a point during the famine of the word, you're not going to be able to go on YouTube. You're not going to be able to put in GMS Mark of the Beast, GMS Daniel breakdown, GMS Revelation 13 breakdown. You're not going to be able to do that. So what you've gathered up until this point, that has to serve you when all hell breaks loose. All right. We say this all the time, and really it's to the point now we're saying it almost every week. All right. When all hell is broken loose, we're not going to be running with the Bible, highlighting scripture. Brother, write this down. If you ain't got it by then, it's over. It's over for you. All right. You're supposed to use this time, this ministry, to gather up information so that you can have, what is that in Proverbs where it says the sluggard doesn't work during the winter, so he won't be fed. Let me get that real quick. Because right now, the time for storing up in that time of need is right now. Right now, when this word is just overflowing, on the internet, that's the time to get it. That's the time to write down everything, take notes. You don't want to wait until we're off the internet for you to try to basically nigger rig a doctrine at the last minute. This is the book of Proverbs, this is 20 and 4. It says, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg and harvest and have nothing. Right? You don't want to be a sluggard. You don't want to be someone that's too scared to do the work now, or you watch a couple videos, you don't come out to the block, and then when all hell breaks loose, you're like, what scripture was that? Let me see if I can find that page again. Or some of you have our telephone numbers. You're gonna call, hey, I'm a wad. Hey, you see a pocket nuke go off, or you see martial law, you see troops coming down your street, and all of a sudden you want to be a super duper Israelite. All right, you want to have all the fringes on your garment. You want to pop up and act like you've been down all along. No, you're a sluggard. All right, you're not going to have during times of harvest. It says, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold, which the cold represents the winter. All right, which we're approaching that time of winter. But this is also speaking, spiritually. Right now is the time of winter where you're supposed to be planning for the spring. You're supposed to be planning for the summer. All right. It says, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg and harvest and have nothing. And that's a terrifying position to be in. You don't want to be someone that knew about the truth, you knew about prophecies, and then when it was time to get busy, you just all of a sudden now you want to be the I forget the name of that nigga. Basically he had a polo shirt button all the way up to the top, and he would stand like these, total bug out. But you don't want to be someone that's out your mind in that day. You want to have that Isaiah 33:6, that wisdom and knowledge to keep you stable in those days. And that's what the men of the Lord are going to have. Why? Because real leaders have raised them up. Real leaders have raised men who, during Jacob's trouble, Lord willing, each brother is going to be capable of holding his own. We pray, we talk about certain situations where different brothers are going to be together during the famine, during, these different pestilences. Certain brothers are going to be together, but also you're going to have men that are alone. They're going to be alone during some very dramatic experiences. And this truth is going to be the only thing keeping you sane. Why? Because the real leaders, they prepared you for that. All right. You're going to have men that'll be in a concentration camp. It might be 200, 300 Jakes. There might be 5 or 10 believers in that whole area. Now, as a man, you're going to have wisdom, discernment. You're going to have to know the scriptures. You're going to have to know who's able to receive this, who's not going to be able to receive this. And you're going to have to navigate in situations where you're surrounded by heathen and 2/3. You might be the only believer in a whole stadium of Jakes. You might find yourself in a situation where you come across somebody who's sincere. They believe. They're someone that you can see the Spirit of the Lord is dealing with them, but they're just not, they were never in a camp, and you break bread with them. These things are going to happen. And it's going to happen because the Lord raised up men to be leaders. He didn't raise up an army of zombies following one well-spoken Jake. oh, you heard the new Malcolm X speech? Where are they now, man? Bro, if you listen to a Nation of Islam nigga in 2025, man, that's a dark place, man. A dark place to be in. To be a black Muslim in 2025, you're done. But this is, I wanted to get this before I leave. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 30, which when you read these scriptures, they're talking about a father having a biological son, but it also applies to a leader raising up an understudy, one like unto himself. This is Sirach chapter 30, verse 3. It says, he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead, for he have left one behind him that is like himself. Right, so when you have a father raise a son, when the father dies, if the father did his job, his son knows everything he knew. All right, his son knows who he is, he knows who his enemies are, he knows the family business, he's able to continue everything his father was doing. So it's like his father never died. You still have one like yourself that's still on the earth. Now apply that spiritually. You have elders, you have teachers, you have men that raise up other men. So if that elder has to go do something else, he has men in his place. So it's like he's still there. All right. This ministry is about raising up men who are able to do the same thing that you're able to do. It's not about raising you up so that you could say, oh, look how great I am. Look how much knowledge I have. Look at all the precepts I have memorized. Look how many highlights I have in my Bible. You need to get like me, youngin'. You got these old niggas with that OG demon on him, man. Jake trying to be an old nigga in the hood, still cool, hanging out with YNs. No, man, we're trying to raise each other up to all be on the same level. So if I have to go over here and do this, you're still capable of handling the father's business. All right. If a father has 5 sons and he teaches all 5 of them how to do the same thing, he can leave, man. Go do something else. We got this. All right. That's the beauty of this ministry, man. It's not about exalting one man. It's not about one man having this overly grandiose personality and everybody trying to mimic him. It's all about us having the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. But I'm gonna get one more. This is yeah, I'll get this one in Habakkuk. This is Habakkuk 2, starting at the top. I will stand upon my watch, right, because the Lord set up watchmen, all right, and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved, which we reprove our people. You get cut by the scriptures, and then what are you going to do after that? There are men, basically, there's only 2 things you could do. You could become a scoffer. You can either scoff verbally or, in your own mind, you get offended, you turn the video off, you cuss niggas, you cuss out Jake, all right? You can scoff, or you get cut by the scriptures and you say, damn, I really do need to do this. I do need to repent. I do need to put this off, and I need to come out to the highways and hedges. I need to make my body a living sacrifice, all right? It says, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. And that's ultimately the job of a spiritual leader. We make the scriptures so plain that when you hear it, it's like, I have to do something. I have to run. When you hear that all hell is going to break loose and nuclear missiles are going to completely destroy every place that you ever, the school that you went to, all right, the elementary school, the high school, all right, your first job, the first place you got boxed, the first place you whatever, your hobbies, played sports, whatever. Everything you've ever seen in Babylon the Great is going to be wiped off the face of the earth with thermonuclear missiles. This place is going to be completely destroyed from Maine to Florida to California to Washington, man. The whole Babylon the Great is going to be wiped off the face of the earth. And you living in Babylon, common sense should say, wait a minute. If the place I'm living is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles, how do I escape? How do I save my family? How do I provide in a time when there's not going to be any groceries on the shelves, man? What am I going to do? You're going to serve the Lord. And that's ultimately our mission. Again, this is why when you come across other Israelite groups, they're all about trying to get you to be in that family man spirit, and that don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the Cash App. That social media spirit to try to build some type of cult here in America. We're all about trying to build a cult of Yahweh Shai for the kingdom of heaven. When you come across the true prophets, it puts you in a mind state, wait a minute, I need to get this for myself. It's not enough to just push the like button, to just put shalom on the comment board. I need to understand the scriptures for me so that when all hell breaks loose, I can have some peace of mind. Because all hell is going to break loose. And if you don't have this truth, you're going to bug out, man. We see it happen on a low level with Trump threatening to not have SNAP in November. Just on a low level, people are losing their minds. So how much more when there's actually no food on the shelves at all? The only way to eat is to take the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. And you don't have any faith built up. You're just going to be destroyed. All right. So this ministry is all about building up leaders, all right, who can teach other men to be leaders, who can teach other men to be leaders. Because in the kingdom of heaven, it's going to be 144,000 leaders. That's what the kingdom of heaven is. It's a body, a brotherhood of leaders. Every man is going to have dominion over a specific part of the earth. So for you to be in this ministry and not have the spirit of wanting to be a leader, not wanting to build up your discernment, your understanding, you're bugged out, man. You don't know what you're involved in, all right, as Jake says all the time. So, Abaratazah, this lesson was edifying to the elect, all right? If you're following us, all right, the prophets of Great Millstone, your mindset should be towards becoming a leader yourself and teaching other men who have the capacity to become leaders, all right? Because that's all we're going to be doing in the kingdom, all right? We're not going to roll up our sleeves and do physical labor. We're going to be, hey, do this, do that. We're going to be delegating. We're going to be leading. We're going to, first and foremost, the entire 12 tribes of Israel and then the heathen. And the world is going to be much better off with us in charge. So just develop that ruling class mentality and build the mentality of this is my brother. I'm teaching him so that if I have to go away for any reason, he can do the same thing I'm doing. All right. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachach, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shabbat Shalom to the hopeful elect, the leaders. Shalom.